tonight.
We honor and remember the 6 million Jewish martyrs of the Holocaust.
Remembering genocide at a commemoration in Jerusalem. And a CBN News exclusive interview from Israel with the Vice President.
The President did nothing wrong.
The President did something very wrong.
This as Democrats continue to lay out their case for impeachment in the Senate. And a candlelight vigil at the Supreme Court, ahead of a presidential first at this year's March for Life. Plus, amid the bitter divide on the Senate floor, a standing ovation across the aisle. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
Vice President Mike Pence on impeachment, Israel, and anti-Semitism. Tonight we have that exclusive CBN News interview for you. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Jenna Browder.
And I'm John Jessup. We begin, though, with impeachment. House managers in their second straight day of pressing their case at the impeachment trial.
And while the eyes of the nation are on the Senate, the Vice President is in Israel.
CBN's David Brody caught up with him there to discuss the ongoing proceedings.
Democrats want to see John Bolton testify. Do you have any reason to believe John Bolton has any information that would be worthy of bringing him forward?
Well, I think all the call for additional witnesses and evidence just proves how weak a case the Democrats rushed through the House of Representatives. It really is amazing. I mean, this comes down to a phone call that the president made with President Zelensky of Ukraine. People can read the transcript of the call. They can see there was no quid pro quo. The president did nothing wrong. Beyond that, the Democrats rushed this partisan impeachment through the House, and now, having sat on their partisan impeachment for a month, they come to the Senate, having told us that they have an overwhelming case against the president, saying now they need new evidence, they need new witnesses. And I hold the view that the Senate ought to evaluate this partisan impeachment, the articles, the evidence that were amassed in the House, look at everything that they've brought over and make their decision. I think when they look at those facts, this president will be acquitted, and frankly, we'll put this chapter, this partisan impeachment, in the rearview mirror, and maybe, just maybe, get the Democrats in Congress to begin to focus on the things that President Trump and I have always focused on every day of this administration: making America more secure, making our borders more secure, making our economy more prosperous, seeing conservatives appointed to our courts at every level, focusing on the things that matter most to the American people.
What is your message to some of those moderate Republicans, the 4 or 5 that might be out there that are thinking about siding with the Democrats potentially in about a week or so on witnesses? What's your message to those Republicans out there?
I think the American people see this for what it is. This is a partisan impeachment that really has just been the latest chapter of a 3-year effort to overturn the results of the 2016 election. I mean, everywhere I go across the country, I got to tell you that people in diners, people that I stop and talk to on the street, people that I see at rallies, all, David, it's like they know what's going on. I mean, for 2.5 years, it was Russia collusion until the Mueller report found no collusion, no obstruction, case closed. And then it seemed like there was only a brief intermission, and all of a sudden we're off on a partisan impeachment over a phone call the president made with a world leader, a phone call that the American people can read. And I would just say to every member of the Senate, not just Republicans, but even Democrats of goodwill, is just look at the facts of this case. I think they will see the president did nothing wrong. They'll see this partisan impeachment for what it is. There's not even a crime that is alleged, let alone a high crime or misdemeanor or treason or bribery. And they'll reject these 2 articles and acquit the president and allow our country to focus back on the issues that matter most, and frankly, focus on the election that is just 10 months away.
And we will have more on David's interview with the Vice President coming up. But for now, let's turn to Capitol Hill, where Abigail Robertson is standing by.
Abigail, today House managers focused on the first article of impeachment and really honed in on what comprises an impeachable offense.
That's right, John. They are now 2 days into presenting their case. And as you said, today was about that first article proving that abuse of power and that President Trump has shown a pattern of corruption during his presidency, particularly in this Ukraine situation. And in a rather interesting or unique moment today, we saw Congressman Nadler play a clip from Senator Graham back from the 90s when Senator Graham was a House manager in the Clinton impeachment trial. And in this clip that he played, Senator Graham argues that abuse of power is an impeachable offense and that a crime doesn't have to be committed in order for it to be considered an impeachable offense. And so today, Democrats were trying to convince their colleagues that what President Trump constitutes abuse of power and should be removed from office. Take a look.
First article of impeachment charges the president with abuse of power. President Trump used the powers of his office to solicit a foreign nation to interfere in our elections for his own personal benefit. Note that the act of solicitation itself, just the ask, constitutes an abuse of power. But President Trump went further.
And we're hearing that inside the chamber, Republican Senators Susan Collins and Mitt Romney have been taking copious notes as the Democrats have been laying out their case, while other senators have been a little less attentive.
Abigail, of course, the big question is calling witnesses and when that'll be worked out after the president's team has their 24 hours to give their opening statements. Are we any closer to knowing what those negotiations might look like?
Well, that's a great question, Jenna. And this week, there have been rumors of a potential witness swap between Republicans and Democrats, rumors of conversations about possibly having a Biden testify in exchange for Ambassador Bolton. But today, when Minority Leader Chuck Schumer was asked about this, he says he has had no conversations with Republicans about that situation whatsoever. He has not been in communication with Republicans. No one's talked to him about that. And we're hearing that we really don't know yet if Democrats will have those 4 Republicans when the time comes to vote with them to call forth witnesses. But many Republican senators, like Lindsey Graham, a staunch ally of President Trump, is standing by that he does not think that there need to be new witnesses called forth. Take a look.
I want to end this thing sooner rather than later. I don't want to turn it into a circus. I think Schumer said yesterday we're not willing to trade Joe Biden for anybody. I think I know why. I want the American people to pick the next president, not me. And so what I think is the best thing to happen is to have oversight of Ukrainian potential misconduct and move on to the election. I am not going to use my vote to extend the trial.
And just to give you an idea of the rest of the timeline, House Democrats will have tomorrow to continue to present their case, and then the defense will be up on Saturday. They'll break Sunday. The defense will have 2 more days, Monday and Tuesday, and we're likely looking at that vote on witnesses on Wednesday. Back to you, John and Jenna.
All right, CBN Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson. Thank you, Abby. Well, turning overseas, world leaders met in Israel today for the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz.
Now, the event commemorates the genocide of European Jews amid a global spike in anti-Semitism.
Ben Kennedy joins us now to explain. Ben, it was really a remarkable scene to see world leaders stand shoulder to shoulder with Holocaust survivors.
Yeah, John, turns out this is the largest ever gathering focused on commemorating the Holocaust. And Vice President Mike Pence, as you saw earlier in David's piece, flew in to unite world leaders in combating modern-day anti-Semitism.
We remember the names and the faces and the promise of the 6 million Jews who were murdered in the Holocaust.
During World War II, Nazi Germany murdered some 6 million Jews, around 2/3 of Europe's Jewish population. Speaking to an audience that included Holocaust survivors, Vice President Pence vowed never again, called on world leaders to stand strong against growing anti-Semitism.
We must be prepared to confront and expose the vile tide of anti-Semitism that is fueling hate and violence all across the world, and we must stand together.
Pence then visited the Western Wall with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, a close ally in the fight against Iran, the leading state sponsor of anti-Semitism and terror.
Israel salutes President Trump and Vice President Pence for confronting the tyrants of Tehran.
Iran threatens to wipe Israel off the map, supporting cries of death to Israel, death to America. Netanyahu called for greater unity against Tehran, which denies the Holocaust as a matter of state policy.
I'm concerned that we have yet to see a unified and resolute stance against the most anti-Semitic regime on the planet, a regime that openly seeks to develop nuclear weapons and annihilate the one and only Jewish state.
As for Iran, they continue to deny accusations of anti-Semitism. John, Jenna?
All right, Ben Kennedy, thank you. Well, in his interview with the Vice President, David asked him about the recent rise in anti-Semitism,
including controversial comments made inside the halls of Congress.
And now we see, in the present day, this rise of anti-Semitism, not just in Europe, but in America. What do you attribute that to specifically? And I'm curious about some of the folks that have spoken out for the BDS movement, if you will, and we've heard some folks call Israel the oppressor here. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Well, there is a rising tide of vile anti-Semitism that's emerging all around the world. We've seen it result in violence at synagogues in Pittsburgh and in Los Angeles, and the loss of life. But we've also seen it manifested in rhetoric, not only the BDS movement attempting to get people to divest from Israel, thinly veiled anti-Semitism, but even in the halls of Congress. We've heard anti-Semitic rhetoric that has not been roundly and universally condemned as it should be.
Referring to Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, people like that who have said.
Well, for people to traffic in anti-Semitic slurs and tropes and not be held to account for that, it's just unacceptable. But the good news is, and you saw it here at the 75th anniversary of Auschwitz, the world is mobilizing. The American people are aware of it. You look at the recent elections in the United Kingdom, and it was understood to be the Liberal Party's tolerance of latent anti-Semitism was seen as one of the reasons why they lost in a landslide in recent elections. I think the people understand the dangers based on the lessons of 75 years ago, that even allowing anti-Semitic rhetoric, let alone violence, to take place in our society. But it requires, constant vigilance. When I was a member of Congress, the only Holocaust survivor to ever serve in Congress, the late Tom Lantos, came to my office, David, and asked me to co-found the Anti-Semitism Caucus. I was honored to do that. He wanted to co-found the caucus with an evangelical Christian and conservative, and I was humbled by that. And the truth is that a rejection of anti-Semitic rhetoric or worse should be universal in our society, in our public debate, and will continue to demand that.
And for more from David's interview with the Vice President, tune into a special Faith Nation this Sunday at 8 p.m. on Freeform.
President Trump scores another historic first, this time at the annual March for Life. We explain when we come back.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN Newswatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Yes, right on time.
From Superbook.
Pepper's Pizza Palace is donating pizza for everyone today. Wait. me. I have big plans today.
Trust in God even when times are tough. He has a plan for your life.
Hey, we're gonna be late for the grand opening.
My parents want me to help with this outreach thing, feeding the community. What am I supposed to do here? Superbook!
Join the Superbook Club and get Superbook The Birth of Moses, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25.
Pharaoh ordered all newborn Hebrew boys thrown into the Nile River, and I have a 3-month-old brother.
The Birth of Moses. Yours for a gift of only $25.
What will you do the next time the soldiers come? I do not know, but I trust God has a plan for all of us.
Superbook Club members free streaming for seasons 1, 2, and 3 is now available.
And welcome back. President Trump will become the first sitting president ever to attend the March for Life. The annual event takes place Friday here in the nation's capital. Many who'll be there praise the president and his administration for advancing the pro-life cause.
With his redirecting of dollars from Planned Parenthood and other abortion industry providers to clinics that provide health care for mothers and babies. So I'm very, very impressed with him. He is very pro-life and very understanding of those issues.
Back in 2018, the president addressed March for Life attendees via video stream.
And Annette Lancaster is a former Planned Parenthood clinic manager who is now pro-life. And Annette joins us. Annette, good to have you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So tell us about your journey. How did you go from being a manager at a Planned Parenthood in North Carolina to being an outspoken pro-life advocate?
Well, my husband actually has a big part to do with my change. He had been encouraging me for a long time to leave Planned Parenthood. He could just see the change in my personality and my humor, the fact that I was drinking alcohol a lot more to just kind of cope with what we were doing. And so eventually, it's twofold. I say I was quit-fired because the day that I was called in and told that I no longer fit in there and that they wanted to terminate me, I had a letter of resignation that I had already written that I had been holding on to for quite a while. So I just went ahead and turned it in.
Did you have a faith component? Because you talked about your husband noticed the changes in you. So what were those changes?
My humor became really dark, just telling dark jokes. I became really depressed. During all of my free time, I would never spend time with the family. I was just drinking heavily and taking naps.
So you left Planned Parenthood. What did it take for you to have a change of heart and to become pro-life?
So when I left Planned Parenthood, I wasn't immediately pro-life. I joined a ministry called And Then There Were None. I started going to healing retreats, hearing stories from other ex-workers, and realized all of what I was doing previously was just so wrong.
You walked away from not just your work, but your life as you knew it. I wonder if there was any fallout. Did you lose not just coworkers, but did you lose friends because of this dramatic turnaround?
I did lose a lot of friends, but ironically, half of the staff that were working there with me, I was able to love them out of the clinic as well. And they actually came through the And Then There Were None ministry as well.
You talk about the healing that you say needed to happen. You referenced the alcohol, healing for your family. Talk a little bit more about that.
So there is a lot of healing that goes on, not just with the ex-worker, but with the spouse and with the children as well. My husband was privileged to be able to come to a march with me last year, and he was able to see all of the great work that we're now doing on this side, and it was actually healing for him as well.
Annette Lancaster, thank you so much for being with us. I know that you're going to enjoy being at the March for Life tomorrow.
Yes.
Thank you again, and we'll be back with more Faith Nation right after this.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians are
Christians in Iran are routinely arrested.
Happily, Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Welcome back. This year's March for Life theme is Pro-Life is Pro-Woman. Pro-choice advocates argue that abortion is a fundamental right and choice for women. But as Paul Strand reports, those marching tomorrow say that choice has harmed millions.
The March for Life Expo in Washington is crammed with thousands of participants meeting up and networking before the big march. This year, they face bad news, but good news as well.
Abortion's down to about 800,000 a year. That's half what it used to be. Of course, the bad news is that's still 800,000 babies a year killed.
That's why a candlelight vigil outside the U.S. Supreme Court this week carried such a somber tone. Those there faced and prayed about the pain and harm caused by abortion. Janet Morena has counseled thousands of wounded women.
I could introduce you to people, women, who the only child they were ever able to conceive was that child they aborted because of the damage done to them by that abortion.
Brandy Swindell started up a pro-life health clinic.
Many of those women suffer from shame, depression, anxiety, even suicidal thoughts at times.
Deborah Tilden says she was lied to by those who took her baby 40 years ago.
It's not a baby yet. It's just a blob of tissue. Your life can get back to normal again. My life, and I was never normal, as they would say, that moment I walked out of the abortion clinic.
She's amazed the relationship with her fiancé survived.
80% of couples who have gone through the abortion, especially together, do not survive that.
Then there's the literal taking of life.
Obviously, a baby is killed, and people need to look at abortion. We urge people to go to lookatabortion.org, a special website, because you can't form an opinion about this unless you see it.
Father Pavone says it's time for the Supreme Court to revisit Roe v. Wade because this legalized right to abort America's unborn has so distorted the nation's morality and law.
If a pregnant woman is in a car and her car gets hit by a drunk driver and the baby gets injured or killed, someone can be punished for the harm or death of that baby. But imagine this, she could be in that car driving to an abortion clinic to get that baby aborted, and then it's supposed to be a constitutional right?
This is the 47th March for Life, an event crying for an end to all this. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
3 American firefighters died today while battling the devastating wildfires in Australia. They were killed when the water-dropping plane they were using in their efforts crashed.
The firefighting fraternity, as we keep saying, is a tight-knit family. It's a fairly small family, and the crew on board were well known, not just to their colleagues here in Australia, but we're also reminded that a number of our US colleagues that are embedded in some of the incident management teams right now, including down in the high country, actually had personal relationships with them. So our hearts are with all those that are suffering.
The Australia wildfires are now responsible for more than 30 deaths during this fire season. 5 of those have been firefighters. More than 2,500 homes have been destroyed as millions of acres have burned. Since December, about 200 American fire personnel have deployed to help with the situation there in Australia.
Coming up, the one thing in the middle of an impeachment trial that brought Republicans and Democrats together for a standing ovation. You're watching CBN's Faith Nation.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Protect your sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
Well, with history unfolding on the floor of the Senate, teens in the Senate Page program have had a front row view.
And today marks the end of the term. After a long day of opening statements Tuesday night, all involved with the impeachment trial put aside partisanship to offer a well-deserved hearty congratulations.
In addition to witnessing this unusual event that we're all experiencing, they're studying for their final exams as well, and we wish them well as they head off back to boring, normal high school.
Let me just add my thanks and gratitude for all of us. It is rare, particularly these days, when 100 senators from both sides of the aisle of every political persuasion get up and give someone a standing ovation.
Sponsored by their home senator, and while serving their term, they complete page duties as well as their junior year at the U.S. Senate Page School. Jenna, it was nice to see those smiles and that consensus in the middle of an impeachment trial on the Senate floor.
Yeah, like Chuck Schumer said, very rare moment to see all of them come together like that, and yeah, nice to see.
Very rare and also very welcome. Did you know that Senator Michael Bennet and Senator Lee were also Senate pages?
No kidding.
Just looked that up today.
It's a rich history.
Rich history indeed.
All right.
Well, thanks for watching tonight's Faith Nation.
Have a great evening.